Hello everyone. Welcome to Astro Reader PH and thanks for dropping by for some astrology. First of all, whoa, there's been so much pressure recently, and the control measures and restrictions are through the roof. And it's all thanks to Uranus stationary retrograde, I bet. As we talked about in last week's video, Uranus just went stationary retrograde, which puts it in its weakest point. It will only go direct on January 19, which is still some ways to go. So Uranus is pretty concerned with freedom and truth. And when a planet is stationary retrograde, it's very weak. So Uranus is really weak right now. Personally, I had a really restrictive week, and I have a lot on my plate right now. So I'll probably keep this video short. So as I said in my last video, while in the big picture the control measures should lighten up in the long run, we still have this challenge in the short term. So this week, we'll just continue with this ramp up of control measures and restrictions as Uranus stationary retrograde continues. And combined with the effects of Venus retrograde, we are bound to feel really dissatisfied and unfulfilled with the pleasures of life. There's an overall lack of enjoyment of sorts. If you're feeling pretty down, hang on. Let's look forward to the direct motion of both Uranus on January 19 and Venus on January 29. When Uranus goes direct, there's usually a feeling of liberation along with it. And when Venus goes direct, there's a return of pleasure, love, and enjoyment in life. In fact, we have another development this week that should help slow down all this rushed creation of new rules and regulations. On January 19, Mercury in Aquarius goes retrograde. This is significant, likely the highlight of the week. So in the days before January 14, you can expect a flurry of activity. So many things can get done during Mercury in Aquarius, and most especially right before it goes retrograde. When Mercury is stationary direct, there's peak productivity, usually very busy. Mercury in Aquarius also squares Uranus in Taurus within 1 degree before going retrograde. Now, I don't want to be all doomy, but this energy can be pretty volatile, especially since it coincides with the T-square, but more on that later. So with Mercury square Uranus, there is probably going to be a Mercury-related thing that will cause a feeling of restriction. So it could be an argument, a clash of ideas, a battle of written correspondence, or red tape. Or we could feel like we're in a mental prison. Mercury wants the innovative and rational approach, but Uranus doesn't want to budge. Uranus also rules the collective, so there could be differences of opinion and arguments within groups. What makes this special is that Mercury goes stationary direct before going retrograde, so it's an extremely powerful force pushing against Uranus, only to back down at the last moment. So there's probably going to be a huge issue towards the weekend. And this issue relates to restrictive ideas and rules, and perhaps the people challenging their reasonableness. Exalted Mercury in Aquarius has zero tolerance for unreasonable and irrational ways of thinking, and it will nudge against this restrictive Uranus energy. It won't go overboard with its rebellious tendencies, but it will make its strength known. And as Mercury goes retrograde on January 14, there is a ceasefire of sorts. Mercury withdraws its effort for the meantime. Why? I believe it has something to do with the T-square on those days. January 13 to 14 has a T-square of Moon in Gemini, Mars in Sagittarius, and Neptune in Pisces as apex. As we always say, when we have a T-square, the apex is always the strongest. Here, it's Neptune, the planet of illusion and faith. So I feel that those with a more reasonable approach to things will perhaps back down for now in the face of illusions and confusion. Perhaps the discussions become a bit too heated, thanks to Mars, and Mercury steps back for now, unable to defeat the beliefs of others with his rational side. He may not have won for now, but he's just biding his time. He knows he has planted the seed, and that's enough for him for now. And while Mercury is retrograde, he doesn't really stop working. He just starts working through other channels, finding ways and means elsewhere, maybe even playing dumb. And while he takes this step back to wait for others to catch up, these new rules are probably going to be reevaluated as well. People will think that maybe they've been too hasty with these new rules and slow down. Their reasonableness will be examined. And perhaps towards the end of January, as Uranus and Venus go direct, there is finally a relaxation of these restrictions. Or at least, there would be a resolution to those issues that gives way to some relief. And the catalyst would probably be another factor unrelated to Mercury. As Uranus goes direct, perhaps it just decides to be less restrictive. And finally, towards the end of the week, we have Sun conjunct Pluto and the full moon in Cancer from January 16 to 17. Sun conjunct Pluto is a powerful transit. This is all about personal power and the odds working in one's favor. But this tends to favor the courageous types who are willing to take a stand. So if you're faced with fear this week, rise above it, and Sun conjunct Pluto will reward you towards the end of the week. Fortune favors the brave. The full moon in Cancer is a period of fulfilling rest. It's about putting aside professional relationships and getting close with one another, or respecting each other's personal lives and security. We could enjoy some interactions with family as well. The full moon also marks the peak of monthly energy and activity, so people should become less emotional after this. And that's it. Thanks for watching the Astrology of the Week of January 10 to 16 for all signs. Please like and subscribe if you like this. Thanks. Goodbye.